are now tuned in to the Free Play Media Podcast Network.
We are live, Chris Denman, live with my friend Gary Gulman. What's up, Gary? Good to have you in St. Louis, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love St. Louis.
Yeah, you were here just like, we were just talking about this. So Gary, if you don't know, if you're watching on Facebook, this tall, handsome man is back in St. Louis at Helium Comedy Club all weekend long. I personally went last year. It was a blast. He's very funny. If you didn't catch him on Last Comic Standing, do some Googling, YouTube it. He's a very funny guy, and we've got him here in St. Louis this weekend. So pleasure to have you, man. I'm pumped to have you back.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah,
absolutely.
I really had a great time, and I have friends in St. Louis, so I'm really excited to be here.
What's the connection? I feel like maybe you brought that up whenever you were here. What are the friends, just from touring and just being out, or is it a college thing?
One actually was a college friend, a guy I played football with. His younger brother is Danny McLaughlin.
What a connection to have in St. Louis.
Yes.
Okay. Where did you play football?
Boston College.
Boston College. Just a tiny little up-and-coming university. I know this is probably like 274th radio podcast, whatever interview that you have to go down this road, but what position were you? Tight end?
I was a tight end, yeah.
At Boston College, man.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
It was a nightmare. I was a good athlete. Like I could run fast and jump high, and I'm a very big person.
Yeah.
But mentally, I just don't have that killer instinct DNA. I have an overabundance of empathy, which is not which is not a good characteristic for a football player.
Well, if you were maybe in today's offense where you're a finesse tight end, where you're like essentially an extended a wide receiver who's got a little weight on him. But those days, I'm sure they wanted you to block a little bit.
Yeah, there was
going up against animal defensive ends all the time.
Yeah, there was blocking, and just the speed of everything was overwhelming. And just the I was so overmatched just so quickly, and but by these guys. But I was physically as big and as strong and as fast as everyone.
Yeah.
But I just didn't have that dominant gene to push people around and assert myself.
If people were to only hear your stand-up, they would picture you as just like a diminutive guy who like eats cereal in his apartment. That's what you would picture. But then you see it like, oh, geez, that's a big dude.
Yeah.
So Division I is no joke, though.
No,
did you play? You probably played with a few people who got drafted, or at least
I played with some stars. Like Glenn Foley was the quarterback, and Mark Chmura was a Super Bowl tight end, and
for the Packers.
And Tom Nalen was
Tom Nalen?
Yeah.
He played like 15 years in the league?
Yes, and won 2 Super Bowls back-to-back with the Denver Broncos.
Right.
He was Elway's center. So I played with these outstanding athletes, and I just did not fit in.
And you showed all of them up, right? That's such a cool thing. And then obviously the sweet stench of Flutie hanging around around the university.
That is a great point.
Yeah,
it was still very strong when I got there in '89. He had all his heroics, I think, in '84. So it was still.
Did you ever get like? I wonder if the guys on the team were kind of like, will you stop referencing Flutie? Like, okay, like we get it. He was unbelievable. Yeah, he was only 5'6.5", whatever he was. But there is a little bit of a weird thing. Like it sets a tone. Like that guy was unbelievable, and then his pro career kind of mimicked the like insanity of his college career, having the accolades that he collected. Right?
Yes, he was just a remarkable athlete and a winner, and so charming, and and just beloved in New England.
Yeah.
And they were able to recruit off of his his exploits for years.
Yeah, everybody's, I'm going to be the next Doug Flutie. Like, we got enough 5'7" white dudes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy. So back to the St. Louis connection then. So did McLaughlin's brother play there, or you just went to college with him?
Yeah,
he was there too.
Yeah, he was an offensive lineman, and he was 6'6", about 305.
What?
In the
Have you met Dan?
Yes, of course.
He is not 6'6", 305.
No, but his brother was this incredible athlete. He was great at basketball and baseball. He played on the baseball team at BC too, and he would hit these home runs that were line drives that would barely get over the pitcher's head. Yes, he was an incredible basketball player too. I mean,
so I'm sure he went to Vianney here in St. Louis.
He went to St. Louis University High School.
He went to SLU. Okay, so a bunch of people watching online are just like, "Hey, jackass, he went to our high school." Here. People are territorial.
I think they both went to SLU. I can't be positive.
I thought McLaughlin went to Danny. I thought he went to Vianney. I could either
possible.
way. So that's wild. That's
so I knew
crazy.
Danny when he was just a high school kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So think about this. Let's lay this out for him. At what point do you think the McLaughlin brothers, like, whenever Dan was like, "Yeah, cute, you played college sports, and I'm the voice of the Cardinals," like, you think like
the voice of the Cardinals?
He now gets to do that. So
with Al Rabowski.
Yeah. They're cutting down on Al.
But oh my gosh, what a character!
I get those people. I love those two together. So many people complain. They're like, "Well, Al always shouts down Dan, and it's awkward." I'm like, "That's the beauty. Like, that's the best part."
It is. That's the only thing that I think the local sports coverage is so much more compelling than the national, because there's bias and there's characters, and in the national it's all been watered down, and they have to be so careful.
Oh, absolutely. And then on top of that, I've actually had the pleasure. I find Al Rabowski to be charming. He's hilarious because and this is where you cheat, where you're like, "I heard this guy's a jerk, but he bought me a drink once, so he's a good guy." And Rabowski was so good to me. I knew some of his family, went and had a drink. I sat there mesmerized for an hour listening to him telling like minor league stories and him just BSing. And all of a sudden, it was whenever Dusty Baker was managing the Reds. They were in town. Dusty Baker walks in. It was after a game. Walks into a bar here in St. Louis. "Hey, Al!" And I got to sit and listen to Dusty Baker and Al Rabowski talking about playing for the Braves organization.
No
back
way.
in the day. Yeah, it's a good story, right? That's fun.
Well, baseball and baseball players, when baseball players are intelligent and thoughtful, they are
not always
right. They're not always. Some are bumpkins,
exactly.
but they can be mesmerizing. The minor leagues is this bizarre subculture, of dreamers and like I love that Kevin Costner movie.
Where he was. Bull Durham
Bull Durham, yes. I just love that. The stories are just so beautiful.
It is, and it probably mimics any performance art, even or pro wrestling. You think about like these guys probably had to take some crappy bus for 6 hours, or like doing stand-up comedy. Gosh, I'm sure when you got your start, you made plenty of drives across the country or regionally, wherever.
8 hours
to go get paid $1.50,
$25 hosting. But I was so proud that I was doing road work, and they threw in a motel, and I was so thrilled that I shared with the other comedian. But I was so thrilled. I wouldn't give up those stories for anything, but I just admire people who are obsessed and dedicated to something without a great deal of money involved. And minor league baseball players are almost the epitome of that.
You're right.
The lifestyle is torturous.
Because if you're at 28 and you still haven't cracked the big leagues, and like your aunts and uncles are like, time to give it up.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I'm 2 home runs away from $1 million contract or something. You feel like that. So there is always that carrot being dangled in front. As that relates to comedy, do you feel like, and we talked a little bit about this, about a unique situation. Do you feel like somebody who would be kind of thrust into stand-up is so pure?
Yeah.
It's so you get found out really quick if you're not the real deal.
Yeah.
Do you feel like somebody that kind of rises up quickly and chooses stand-up as a mode of how they're going to make money or how they're going to do it? When you lose those experiences of not being out on the road and not getting your dick kicked in, basically, like, can you still succeed and be a hardened comic? I mean, maybe they just need to reach that 20-year mark or something.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't know. I definitely think it's great for stories, and it builds character, and it builds
Sure.
confidence. But a lot of these people, and I guess they're usually younger, have so much confidence. I'm blown away by their self-assurance and their fortitude.
Yeah, I was just milieu.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
that I'm just I admire that, and I envy it so much.
Sure.
Because it has taken me, and I still get and luckily you have comedians like Patton Oswalt and others who are interviewed, and they admit, yeah, I still get sick before shows, and I'm
Wow.
like, oh my gosh, I thought that was just me. I still get anxious as soon as I
Even at this
walk
level.
on. Yes, but as soon as I walk on stage, it goes away.
Yeah.
And I have this thing in my head where I've done this so many times, and even it's there's a scene in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest where Jack Nicholson fails to break out of the asylum
Institution,
out of the institution, and people are teasing him, and he says, "At least I tried," and
Yes.
and that's the thing I go to every time. At least I tried
What an
to break
existence.
out, even if I fail. At least I gave it a shot.
No, I
Yeah.
love that, and I love too, because that's kind of the charm, I would say, of your actor, as you as a performer too. You know, you walk out and you see this big dude who played college football,
Yes.
and there is that kind of I don't know, would you call it trepidation at times?
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah,
almost
yeah.
you're kind of feeling that, and it's not uncomfortable. You've mastered it, so kudos to you with
Thank
that.
you.
But that is part of the fun of seeing you go up on stage. Like, that's something I noticed. Like, first off, I was like, this guy's tricking us into thinking he's nervous about something, or you don't feel it, but like you probably actually do feel those things at that time.
I deal with a lot of anxiety, and it's at this moment it is not crippling, but there are times
Currently,
when it's
at this second, We Are Live.
Yeah, there was
Right.
there was actually a time last spring where I just I called my agents and manager and said I need to take the next 2 months off to get my
That's
head
fair,
straight.
though.
Yeah, and I think I've made up all but one of the dates that I had to reschedule.
Oh, you had to reschedule. Yeah, because you set your schedules like almost a year in advance.
Yeah, like a year in advance. Like I'm booked through the end of 2018 already.
Which would be a problem if you weren't, by the way, right? Like, it seems like
I'd be nervous. Yeah, but I'm so grateful for that. But I had to reschedule these because I was for the first time in my career, I was like, I don't know that I can do this, and luckily
just the
I made
stress of the road, or
no, it was chemistry.
Yeah.
I think my brain chemistry was off, and I had to
that happened.
I had to adjust some medication and whatnot. And,
Are we
and
adjusted?
I'm adjusted.
You seem adjusted.
I feel terrific, and
Good, man.
And so I'm back on track, and I have this new hour that I've been touring with, and I feel pretty good. We're aiming to shoot I yelled aiming because I couldn't find the word aiming in my mental dictionary. So I yelled it. I was so thrilled to remember aiming. How do we lose words? So I'm aiming to record my new special next fall.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So do you have anything in line, or do you shoot it and then pitch it to hope someone picks it up? Because I've seen, for example, Joe Coy has a special that's been tearing up Netflix.
Yeah.
It's not like, obviously you have the Chappelles and before the stuff happened, Louis C.K.
Yeah.
But like Joe Coy probably spent a hefty sum to shoot it, produce it, edit it himself.
Wow.
And then, hey, Netflix, you want this? I know other comics that spend a ton of money, do it independently. They're still floating out there. Those specials are still floating. So while it feels like everybody's getting a special here, there, wherever, everybody ain't getting a special for that.
Yeah.
Where do you want the new special to end up? Or do you have something in place?
I've had a great experience with Netflix. The two specials ago, I think it was sold to Comedy Central. It aired on Comedy Central, and then Netflix picked it up, which was terrific. It gets a second life. And then this past one, I had a production company that was interested, and they paid to shoot it, and then they sold it to Netflix. So hopefully something along those lines will happen this time.
That's a wonderful feeling too.
Yes, oh my gosh.
Because there's so many options.
Such a relief.
Yeah,
it really
right?
is. Yeah.
Well, and if they're going to keep going after that, I guess like we were discussing this with the issues with Kevin Spacey. With that, I kind of brought up the point. I was like, Netflix is so great because it seems like you literally deal with Netflix, so you would know much more than I. It feels like they give so much creative just expression and control over to people, and that's why you end up with good things because they're not micromanaging comics and people like, hey, cut this out, put this there. You kind of let you do your own thing. I worry that because of a few assholes doing terrible things that they will be legally obligated to micromanage and to just put a quicker eye to things. I don't know. Would you have any experience with that, or are you in the lucky position where you're like, management's got that?
No, I agree with you though. The interesting thing is that Netflix from its inception has had this ethic, like a positive, optimistic, creative. Just the idea of taking on Blockbuster, and somebody told me that Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix at one point.
Gary, I'd like to admit something. Like we're live here. We are live. Chris Denman and Gary Gulman right now. By the way, go see him at Helium Comedy Club here in St. Louis this weekend. I'd like to admit something out loud. Whenever it was a DVD-driven service, right? Yeah. Out loud, I said when they raise their prices like $1, there's a big hubbub of that or something. I go, well. Nail in their coffin. See ya. Buy Netflix.
Oh, that's
you're
hilarious.
done. And it was 10 years ago now when I brazenly said that. But they've killed it, and they did. Blockbuster could have bought them. I would credit Netflix with bringing documentaries to the forefront that they're at now too. Because now, think about that. When you were in college, if somebody said a documentary, you're like, I had to watch one in a sociology class or something like. They weren't, and now they're a form of entertainment.
Yes.
And then now I think they're doing that. If they haven't already, I get it that comedy specials have been very well watched over the years, but they've made it a regular thing for people to do. Like you go watch specials on Netflix now. Like but to your point though, they've had this cool driving force, and creativity's been a big part of that.
Yeah. I mean, just to jump on the documentary aspect of it, I owe a great deal to the evolution of documentaries in that when I was a kid, documentaries had to be about huge things, usually World War II.
Generally,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe the Loch Ness Monster.
Yes. And then years later, Netflix had this documentary called Helvetica. And I made a joke about it because it was riveting, and then I had this joke in my notebook for about 20 years, and it was about how difficult it must have been to abbreviate all 50 states down to 2 letters. Yeah, and I could never make it into a joke because it just didn't have sort of a casing or a structure to put it into. It was almost like why. So I held on to it, and then one night I was doing the Helvetica joke, and then I said, and the whole idea, it's impossible to make this joke unless people can believe that documentaries can be about such trivial things as Helvetica. So I said, I saw this other documentary, and then I talked about the 50 states being abbreviated, and I made up this entire thing, and I did it on Conan, and it got like 7 million views, and it got me all these new fans, and it's become like my Born to Run. People request it, and they're disappointed if I don't do it. So it's on my Netflix special. So I'm just so grateful for this.
Circle.
Yes,
for
this outlet and platform. It's just
that's fantastic.
And on my previous special, I had this thing extolling the virtues of Netflix, never knowing that it would ever air on Netflix because they weren't doing many stand-up comedy things. But I was talking about how Netflix, if it had done nothing else, it eliminated Blockbuster, which I found to be be so objectionable, their policies and their late fees.
Right.
And I just despise them. And
Absolutely.
And yeah, so that was interesting.
That's so crazy that can happen in life whenever you get that.
It makes me think that we're in a computer generated. Do you ever think that?
Gary, I'm a little, as we stream live on Facebook, like it's like I see headlines now and I'm like, what? Like someone's screwing with me here.
Yeah.
Like this is like insane. Like even some of the movies that come out for the Oscars, I'm like, I'm supposed to like that? Like, I don't know what, like someone somewhere is pressing a button and be like, I wonder if we can do this stupid, just moronic thing. And how will they respond to that? No, absolutely. It feels like we're in a simulation half the time. And then like, even if you drill it down to, I don't know how many, there's only like X amount of ways people can look. In a world, it's almost like molds that were picked out. It's strange, man.
I read this book by this guy named Walter Isaacson, and he wrote like the Steve Jobs biography and the Ben Franklin biography, and he's got this new one about Leonardo da Vinci. Anyhow, he put out this collection of essays, and he did this extensive profile of Bill Gates, and Bill Gates said something to the effect of, "This might be my universe." Like
Bill.
And he said, "I have to admit, I'm loving it." And I was thinking, it's one of these guys' universes. It might be Harrison Ford's.
I would agree with that.
If you look at Harrison Ford's career, most of the people that he was in movies with did not have as big a career. They had to give them something so that it wasn't so clear that they were just invented to be co-stars in Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
Sure.
So they have small careers, but I can't think of anybody who got really huge off those movies.
Because he's one of the leaders
he's one of the people
things.
that this universe, and I believe that it might be Donald Trump's universe too, because it's uncanny.
Nothing makes sense of that.
It's frightening, yes.
So wait, okay, so we've got Trump, Harrison Ford, maybe Bill Gates. Any others we need to throw in there that are possibly running this?
The newest entry, I like to say, is Chris Pine.
Chris Pine?
Chris Pine, who is Captain Kirk, and this past summer for a goof, he was the love interest in Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That makes perfect sense then,
yes.
right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I like where you're headed with that. Before we get you out of here, so again, Gary's at Helium Comedy Club all weekend long, and it's going to be a great show. Brand new hour, you're saying. That's awesome that you've been touring with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I do one joke from last time I was here about that I did on Stephen Colbert, but nothing from the last special. So it'll be a new.
That's so exciting. So I got to go see you again.
I would love it if you came, Chris.
That'd be a blast.
Yeah.
So wait, we talked about this. I'm familiar with my business partner friend that was on Last Comic Standing. Is that still kind of playing, like you mentioned the viral moment with Conan, getting that clip, and then Netflix and everything coming full circle. Does Last Comic Standing still remain relevant to your touring and people recognizing you?
So many people said, I discovered you on Last Comic Standing, and I mean, I'm glad that I kept writing, because it would be pathetic if I was still doing the same jokes. So they've stood by me all these years.
For door deals.
I'm so thankful. Yeah.
Like D-level clubs.
Oh my gosh.
Last Comic Standing.
Yes. Oh gosh.
That's a weird thing too, because you take stand-up comedy, it's pure, you're just good. That's a very produced and edited show.
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
predetermined winner, allegedly.
Possibly.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, it's a reality show, and it's a deal with the devil. I won't go so far as to say that it was blood money.
Yeah.
But it's it's definitely Faustian. to go on a reality show when I absolutely feel like reality shows are like one of the banes of our existence. But it was at a time in my career when I just had no fans and I didn't know how to get any, and it was just, and I saw what it did for the people in the first season, and it was just it was dramatic what it did to their career and my career later. Yeah.
No, I agree too, and it's part of entertainment zeitgeist, whatever we want to say. And I also, so we got our friends at Media Outlaws taking care of the video and everything like that over here at Gaslight. Can we get Jay Moore and you in the same room to talk for like an hour straight? I'm pretty sure. I don't know that you two, like, I don't know. There's the sports angle that you could do. I just find him to be like, he's such a wild card. Like, and you are the way you are. I feel like Jay Moore and Gary Gulman in the same room for hours on end would be fantastic.
I've done his podcast a couple of times, and we just have a blast. But he's a combination of frat guy and guidance counselor. I mean, he's a really sharp.
That's a good way to put it.
He's a really sharp guy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he is knowledgeable in so many different areas: sports, music, and
he'll
pop
surprise you,
culture,
too.
And he's read a lot, and he's really impressive. He has a really impressive mind, but he can be such a wise ass and just biting, sardonic.
I'm gonna have to go
wit.
back and listen to that More Sports, right?
No, I think it's called More Stories.
More Stories.
Yeah.
He's got more sports on something else too. Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out. So, anything else going on? We
many
check
layers.
Out? Yeah.
No, just my Netflix special and
that little old thing.
Yeah, it's about time, which is good, and then I have a couple of other things. Oh, my voice cracked. That's
Listen
lovely.
to that. Oh, what he's playing it up, people. This is what he does. Is he, oh, don't mind me. And he'll steal your wife. Like, Gary, thanks a ton for coming by, man.
Thanks
I really
for having
appreciate
me.
it.
It's a pleasure. It's great seeing you, man.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Check out Gary Gulman at Helium Comedy Club this weekend and support him and all he does. He's a great guy. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, guys.